I've been writing a novel in Obsidian for 3 months, and this is how it's going. When we last spoke, this page here was my Bible. So I had this really fancy novel hub canvas that I was working on. Let me minimize the sidebar here. So up top, I had a outline for my novel I was writing. On the bottom left, from my viewpoint, I had a data view query, which was kind of like a polished view of all the scenes. And here I had my notes pane. When we last spoke, I was at about 14,000 words, and now I'm well over 26,000 words. Just did a week-long writing retreat in Portugal, which was super fun. And coming back from that, I have a lot of learnings on how to use Obsidian going forward and how this planning model is going to scale with my novel. So first things first, go to my daily note. Let's talk through a few things here. So first of all, word tracking. So how am I tracking this daily progress to go from 14K to 26K in a little bit over a month? So 12K. My goal was 10K. So I'm beating my goal. But what I'm doing there is I just have a little tracker for how many words I'm writing each day in my journal. And I've got a Todoist reminder just to let me know to write that down. The reason I do that versus tracking it in Obsidian via inline data view queries or a task app is it's too much faff, like too complicated for the use case. The use case is writing down a number every day. What I just do is hit Control P, go to my writing goals modal. It's 0 for today because I haven't written anything, but I just take the number from here at right before bed and I write it down in my journal. And it's a good way just to keep some things manual and not be stuck in Obsidian all day. So that's one thing that's working for me. The canvas was way too busy for me, and I prefer a full screen view whenever I work. So whenever I went into this canvas and I started looking at my outline or my scenes list or my notes, I was always looking to then click out into whichever window I want to work on and work on it full screen to be focused. So having this all together looks really nice. A good way to get a bird's eye view of things, but I really think, like for me, I use this like once a week just to see how things are and then dive in. Really didn't find a huge value add to that, so I moved away from that. The good news is on the hub, the notes pane down here, which has the parking lot for plot points I need to come back to, as well as some loose ends, so kind of like glaring things that really need to get addressed and are going to take longer, and themes, used phrases. I added themes a little bit after the last video. This is working really well as a one source of overall things I want to work into the novel. If I'm not able to put it right into a specific scene as a very discrete point to action, it's kind of more general, extends beyond a few scenes, put it in here. This list is growing. I spent one day chalking off a few items, but since I'm really kind of in the first draft stage still, I'm expecting this list to balloon as things go on and to double back to it over time. By the time I'm done the draft, some of the stuff at the very top of the list may not even be relevant anymore, and I can chop it off a little later. Don't want to get caught into too much revision paralysis there. Beyond that, this data view query I have down here for my novel scenes, I felt it was a bit unnecessary along with the table. The good thing about the data view query is it feeds off of the metadata on your scene notes, so it's kind of like a very definitive source on what comprises your scenes. Whereas up here in the outline, you have to type in a link to your setting, type in a link to your characters. So you could be wrong, like between your metadata and your notes and your table, you could have some stuff that doesn't match up. And also I'm duplicating things. I'm putting all this metadata into my notes, into my scene notes, but I'm also replicating it in the columns in my outline here. So that was a lot of duplication for no real purpose. So that was one issue, but I was willing to live with that. It wasn't the deal breaker. The real deal breaker is that this table here, this fancy table using that upgraded Obsidian interface where you can add and delete rows in your table super easily with right clicks and pluses. This table does not scale well beyond like 20 rows. So when you get into where I am, I've got like 58 scenes in my novel right now. Could end up with double by the end of it. The page just doesn't load super well. So let me load up that outline very quickly for you. So this was the outline I was working with. Boom, 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 and maybe it'll load eventually. It's actually even longer now to load. I think probably because I've got the screen recording going on, but it's just stuck in this load loop right now. I've never even seen this before, actually. So that's what happens when you try to load that table. Now, while I'm on the stream, let me see if I just try to load my DB folder. Yeah, so there you go. So this is the new solution here, which I have open a new tab. We'll get back to that in a minute. But that loads instantly via the DB folder plugin. It's a lot better. Along with the long load times, so that table, you can kind of see it here since it won't load in the main thing. Because of those long load times and the lot of rows I have, and probably because every row has like 5 outgoing links in it, it started creating something called ghost rows. So whenever I'd add a row, delete a row, copy, cut some text, paste it somewhere else, some older scenes that I'd either deleted or overwritten started repopulating at the bottom and adding additional rows onto my table, which was super annoying and super buggy. It was just a pain in the butt. So I had a epiphany and I realized DB Folder, which is a plugin, community plugin, that I've used for other projects in the past, would actually be perfect for this novel outline, because what I like to do is have a living outline as I write. So I don't just have a single outline, write my draft, and then maybe refer to the outline. My outline is evolving as I write, and it becomes my source of the truth. And having a database versus a table worked a lot better for me. So that's when I switched over to DB Folder. And this is what I have here. So let me close out that canvas. It literally recreates that table with added functionality. So I've got all of the same, or the columns I care to migrate over here. And it looks just the same, but with much better functionality. For example, faster load times, but also I can add rows from templates. So if I move my big head here, if I go here and add a row here, and I'm creating a new scene, I'm actually taking from this scene template that I created, which has all of these metadata fields already in it, blank. So I can then fill them in as I create the scene. This also replaced my big use case for metadata menu, which was to make sure I had the same metadata in every note that I required. But when I put in a new row into this table, it is super clear what metadata I need to add in, because it's all the fields here in the table. So, to make it easier, I have them already in the notes, so I can just go quick populate. But if I ever miss anything, I'm literally just going to see an empty cell here when I come back to review that note. So that was super, super convenient for me. It also makes editing metadata super easy. So instead of this being chapter 6, I wanted this to be chapter 7. That's great. This is in chapter 7 as well. This one is going to be in chapter 8. Actually, maybe this one should be in chapter 12. Boom. I just flipped through 3 different notes, edited the metadata like 5 different times, and I didn't need to go into a single file. Whereas in the past, I would have to. So the bug here is that when you want to change things after you've already created it, it's a little tricky to just go back to blank. So what I'll do is I'll just put these in chapter 6 for now, so it looks a little cleaner. When I come back to this, 2 hours from now, I'm like, what the hell did you do, Ranbir? So beyond that, another good point. I used to have a data view query that just summed up my word count for all of my scenes. I have a word count column here. What this is pulling from is actually a metadata field in each scene. I manually adjust my word count as I edit, because each of my scenes has YAML metadata, a little note section, a little footnote section, and the actual prose. So any sort of word count app is going to totally inflate my word count. I really just want to know what the prose word count is. So I will update that every time I go into a scene, do a big write up and step out. If I go into a scene and change 2 words, guys, I'm not going to blow my top off. But if I go in and do a major rework, I will update this. And at the bottom here, you have a footer exercise, a footer functionality in DB table. DB folder that just creates a sum for you. So I have this set up as a sum of the column. I can have it count unique values. It counts 37 because some of these 400, 500 are duplicated. I can count just the empty ones. So great, there's 1. So that just signals to me that there's probably an empty field here I need to repopulate. And I can sum it up. Actually, the count empty one is really handy here, because what I might do is put that into here. Let's put that into the date one. Here, once again, let me move my giant head. So if we go into our date field here and I put count empty values, it shows up as 1. So that's just a signal to me that somewhere along here, I don't have a date. I'll figure out where it is later. And I need to populate that. So these footers are great. I keep it empty right now because that info isn't useful to me. It's kind of distracting, except for my word count one, which just auto updates every time I change a word count in one of my notes. So that's another good handy feature. That means I don't need to have a separate data view query somewhere else on a different page that I refer to. I can have everything in one view in my living outline. Beyond that, filters for characters and plots. So this is super cool. Before we do that, let's look at the filter for the draft. So what I have here is, if you click on this little magnifying glass, you can filter by any of your metadata fields. So under draft, I have a lot of files here that show draft 2. It's not really the second draft of the novel. It's just, it's my second pass through it, or second good pass through it. And I'm basically doing a top-down rewrite of the scene so far and expanding them, contracting them. So as I process a scene in this chronological order, I'm putting the number 2 on it versus what was there before, which was either a 0 or a 1. And then when I jump back into this page to then continue processing, I don't need to see all this, unnecessary information up here of scenes that, I'm not really thinking about at the moment. I can just go max 1. So now it's only going to show me scenes where I have a metadata value of 0 or 1 there. So it's just showing me the next scene chronologically because I have this sorted by date in the novel primarily with a primary sort and then a secondary sort of scene number, which are unique values in order. That's just a control because sometimes the date is going to be the same. I have scenes that take place on the same day. But because of those sorts, I'm just going to get the next scene chronologically I need to work on. And when I update this to be a 2, you can imagine that it'll disappear from the view. Or let me just show you that. And there you go. So that's gone back into the filtered hidden rows, and I just have the next scene to work on, and I can slowly process my way through the draft. I find that super helpful. Keeps me super duper focused, guys. Filter for characters and plots. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's kind of bring everything back in, take that out, and I want to filter. I want to filter for Happy v Mummy. So this plot line. So how do I do that? So let's go in here. Maybe we'll just go search here. So if I type in mummy, should work. There you go. So I just have all the scenes for this one particular plot line showing up. So I can look at this plot line by itself and see if all of the scenes are in a good order. If something jumps really crazy, I need to add a scene, or if the plot line veers in some random direction that I didn't intend it to, I can just filter by that single plot line. As well, I can filter by location. So these are all the scenes that take place in this one location. So I can see if anything doesn't work there. Whatever your use case is. If there's a character that doesn't appear too often and I want to see where they appear, you can pull it up right here. I see I have a character that only appears in 2 scenes. Do they need to appear in more scenes? Can they be written out? Are they not even that important? Or are they just a nice little B character? Little improvements like that make DB folder great for outlining your novel here in Obsidian. Besides that, also want to show you that it's not just for scenes. I have a outline for characters as well. Here it is. It's just in the beginning stages, but I have 3 characters here, their ages in both parts of the novel, and you can literally add in pictures here. So you can come here and have a very nice database where you can have character metadata along with an inspirational picture to tell you what they look like. So that's another one I'm building out. The hover editor is a nice function. So when I'm in here looking at my scenes, if I just wanted to come in and just kind of see, what's the scene about again? I can just hold Control and I have it mapped to a hotkey to go to Hover Editor, community plugin, and I can see what the scene's about, not have to jump from here, not have to go anywhere, and just take care of it right on the spot, and then just keep moving through the outline. Super great. Final note I want to make, Longform, another great plugin for writing long-form content, such as novels in Obsidian. The use case for me in Longform right now, is 0, is nothing as I'm drafting this. This DB folder plugin takes care of all of that for me. I will use long form once it's time to compile a draft to either print out or read, top to bottom. But that is going to come further down the line once I have a full draft. So anyway, that's this month's vlog update on writing my novel in Obsidian. I hope it was helpful to some of you. Have a great month. Peace.